Hi, my name is Katrina Duncan, and I am the founder of InspyreOne.
So tell us about InspyreOne. If you had to give like a one sentence summation, what's InspyreOne about?
InspyreOne is all about having caregivers being seen, heard, and also understood.
So you have a foundation now. There is a story, a bountiful story, a story filled with emotional ups and downs, a whole story. And it kind of starts with, not kind of, it starts with romance and you getting chased by a man. I've seen pictures of him and the kind of man who looks like he wears good cologne,
Yes.
the kind of man who opens doors. And so start with that story because this all begins with a love story.
Awesome. Absolutely. I met my husband, Chris Gillette, in 2003, and it was love at first sight for him. And I met him at the door when I was interviewing for a position. And 6 months later, when I decided to accept the job, he showed up in my life. And he pretty much wined and dined me at lunch without me knowing he was pursuing me. So we established an amazing relationship. And in 2005, we had a child together and we ended up getting married. And we had an amazing relationship where he showed me what love was, how to be treated by a man. And I adored that. And I always felt special in his arms and around him.
That is awesome. So, what are some of the moments that you remember? Like, when did you realize that this was a guy that you had just met and you had no idea who he was, to the moment where, oh my goodness, this is a special person. This is not a person like any other guy. This person rises above the rest.
When Chris gave up a lot of the habits that weren't healthy for a family, that's when I realized that he was pursuing me intentionally and he wanted something more. And at that moment, I go, if he's willing to give up the habits that I didn't like and I thought weren't healthy for a family, I knew for a fact that this was someone I wanted to invest in and potentially I can fall in love with him. And I
Wow, what were some of those habits that you
some of
said
those
weren't good for a family?
okay. So some of those habits he loved to go out all the time and it that just wasn't me. I just wasn't that type of person that was partying. And he said, "Hey, I'm going to stop partying as much." He started going to church with me. He started showing up at activities with me. And so gradually the habits of him hanging out or doing things that I thought wasn't healthy for a family since I had a daughter, his presence was like, Katrina, if you want a family, I want a family, then I'm no longer going out with, hanging out all the time. I'm investing in myself. I wanted him to be an entrepreneur, and he had it all, it was always within him. And I was the spark that gave him the fuel to get his real estate license, to start doing loans. And so he realized hanging out may not be what I wanted as a family, but I was able to spark the fuel in him to become an entrepreneur. And we were so excited. And that's when I knew that he was it.
Wow. Wow. So would it be a correct interpretation to say that he shifted, because you brought up a word that I was thinking as you were speaking, presence. He shifted his presence. He
Absolutely.
shifted his presence. Wow, that is
Absolutely.
awesome.
He
That
shifted
is
his presence.
awesome. Say again.
He did. Yes, he shifted his presence.
That is awesome. So you were courted. Did he wear nice cologne? Because he just looked like that kind of person who wear good cologne.
Oh my God. Yes, he wore too much cologne. But yes, you heard him when he walked in the room. Um, yes, he wore nice cologne. We did work together in the traditional world as well, in the corporate world, and he wore cologne there as well. He always wore cologne.
Yeah, I know I'm just being silly about the cologne part, but it's like that looked like a man who wears some good cologne.
Yes, he wore cologne, and later on. down the line, he had to remove his cologne when our child was in the NICU, and that was a whole nother thing. So yes, he wore cologne.
Oh my God. And so you have the story of love, but then um as part of wedding vows that, when you get married, they always have the part at the end till death do us part. And that is part of your story ahead of InspyreOne. So your story went from the courting and him shifting his presence and him taking, treating your daughter as his own, and then you having your own child together. Um, what was that? What was that like? Because I know there was an issue with your daughter, your second daughter, and the way he showed up for her was, to me, when I talked to you last time, that was another manifestation that this man is like no one other. No one, none other.
Yes, absolutely. I love sharing the story that I went to church all these years, and because he showed up in my life, he really showed up as the presence of God, where he taught me how to love someone and trust God unconditionally. So my story is with Jasmine is Jasmine was born at 24 weeks. And we didn't know we expected a full-term birth, but at 22 weeks, I was in the hospital, and at 24 weeks, she was born 1 pound, 2 ounces, and she was extremely small. She was, looks trans, you could see right through her skin. And I was in shock. But what he told me is that we have to trust God. And he showed me how to trust God. And so we kept telling everyone that she's healed. She's healed. She's going to come home 100% without any challenges. And although we didn't see it, our faith believed that she would come home without any disabilities. And
And
as
you
I
were getting
watched,
messages that that was not going to be the case. That was not what you were getting from the outside.
absolutely. We were told she would be blind. She wouldn't be able to walk. There were so many different um, elements that she suffered from in the NICU just to keep her alive. And somehow God made her an example of a miracle. He showed us and people surrounding us that he still lives.
Wow. And I remember in our previous conversation, I told you last time we saw each other, actually, the time before the last time we saw each other, because we saw each other on a cruise, had fun. But the time before that was a few years ago in Southern California, where we grew up. And it was at a restaurant. And none of the things that you described, I saw. I saw a healthy young lady. I saw a young lady who was born into this world. If I had to write her story without knowing what you just told me, I saw a young lady who was born and who flourished and who's thriving. That's what I saw. And when you told me your story the last time, I'm still incredulous because I don't see any of that. I see thriving.
Absolutely. She is thriving. Currently, she's in school studying animal science, a junior. Next year, she'll be a senior, graduating, going to DVM schools, studying veterinarian medicine. So, absolutely, she is thriving 100%. I've learned that kids that are in the NICU, were in the NICU, they have the tenacity to just keep pushing them forward. They're not giving up. And she represents success to me, as well as my other child, Destiny, where she had to be steadfast, staying in the hospital with us. And she spent 91 days practically in the hospital as a child as we watched her little baby, her little sister, just go through the manipulation of getting better. It was challenging for all of us, but we had a community that surrounded us and we trusted God. And that's when I knew for sure that I was going to marry this man.
Wow. The challenges can show you a lot.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, and so going from there, yeah, the challenges in the hospital. What was married life like, and then what led to your husband's illness?
Marriage life had its ups and downs. We worked in the corporate world together. We had our own businesses as well. We fell in love with travel and we traveled all the time. And we knew travel and the experience together as a family would take us to a whole totally different level. We there were some challenges like every marriage, especially when you have, families that are trying to mix together in terms of, my Destiny's father and my husband. But the good news is that they were able to get along, we were unified, and we created an environment where we were one. And so that's the biggest win for myself as well, and my daughter, where they didn't see any differences where my Jasmine's adopted by his family as well as vice versa. So that's the biggest win for us as a family growing up. But the relationship itself, the struggle is real. You argue, you get back together. One of the things we focus on is personal development, relationship goals, and we read a lot as a couple to ensure that we can always come back together when there was a need and address what was going on in our family.
Okay, so note to listeners, it's more than a hashtag. It's intentional.
It's it's definitely intentional, and you have to put yourself on calendar. The
Wow.
couple, the
Okay.
relationship. You need to put yourself in on calendar as well as when the family does have success, you want to reward your child. It could be micro steps as well, but you want to set a intentional goal and reward yourself when you reach it. Whether it's taking the kids out to eat, whether it's going to the park, whatever it is, you want to show that things are intentional and you reward yourself at every micro level.
And so when did things start to take a turn? Because your husband had a diagnosis, and there's a story to how you learned of this diagnosis. And it was one that had you a little mad.
Oh, yeah, I forgot I shared that with you. So, after 25, 30 years working in the corporate world, he retired, and we had this big dream just to start traveling the world. I was working remote for the most part, and we wanted to go purchase homes, and we had this vision, and I was ready. I'm like, yes, let's just go do this, right? The kids were off to college, we're almost off to college, at least one. And when he retired in July, 6 months later, he found out he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. But the
Yeah, what
interest,
year was this?
he was diagnosed in 2019.
Okay.
2019. So we did get together in 2003 and he was diagnosed in 2019. But the interesting fact around that time is he was so selfless. He was extremely selfless in sharing the information. My we had this huge party for my sister that was flying in town. And I kept asking him, you should go. And he goes, no, I don't want to go. You should go. And it turned into a disagreement. Turns out that he found out that Friday or Thursday before, and he decided not to share that information with us because he felt we need to celebrate my sister. And so he
Wow.
stood back in reflection that weekend to understand what he was going through and just sat still. And then the following week, he shared with us that he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
Wow. So what was your feeling when you found that out and the reason why? Because you were pissed at him for not because it's a
Yeah,
huge celebration.
I was absolutely upset because it was a family um, celebration. My sister's coming to town. For the whole weekend, we have these plans, and you decided not to come. And I had an argument, and he just sat back and just listened like usual. But the the conversation with him, as far as the how he shared it with me, he pretty much just said, "Hey, I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, but God is here. I'm not going to worry about it. I don't have pancreatic cancer. That's just a diagnosis, and so we're going to move forward as if you see I'm healed." And so he never claimed pancreatic cancer. He always said, I was diagnosed with it. I am not pancreatic cancer. And that was a lesson that I would always carry with me is that I am not the illness. I was diagnosed with the illness.
Wow. And so how long what was treatment like? So he said he's not the illness. He was diagnosed with the illness, but he still received treatment for
Yes,
it.
yes.
And so with the treatment, how did that go?
The treatment was fairly challenging. We sought out so many different doctors. We initially found one that was willing to operate on him within 2 weeks. And we said, wait a minute, let's do our homework. And we did, thankfully. And he was able to get the Whipple surgery. And very few people qualify for the Whipple surgery. So he did radiation and chemo. He had the Whipple surgery. He lived. Actually, it extended his life an additional year with the Whipple surgery. And during that time, it was COVID, and he
That
lost.
adds a whole nother layer.
Yes, yes. I was like, oh my God, don't go out the house. But he lived with after the Whipple surgery as if he didn't have cancer. We believed he was cured. So his life was went back to normal. We planned our trips. We decided that we wanted to live out of state. It was so much planning that was happening because all I saw was the grace of God giving him the doctors and the crew to help him through this process. And after a year and a half of having the Whipple surgery cured, all of a sudden he was feeling weak and the cancer had spread it to his lungs.
Wow. And so what was your thought? Because I imagine it would be what it would be like to go from he's cured, he's doing well, we're going to move forward in our vision to oh no, not only has it spread, but to that particular part of the body. Like, what were your thoughts? Were you mad at God? Were you like, what is this? What are you doing?
I was in shock, to be honest with you, because we were living life normal again. We never thought it would come back. And when it happened, his body deteriorated overnight. It wasn't as if we had time to even digest the news. Cancer spread it to his lungs. It was cancer's now spread it to your lungs. He developed ascites, and the next couple of weeks he was gone.
Wow.
His body deteriorated from him walking up the stairs to him not being able to walk. He was very lethargic. He just couldn't do too much. It in a matter of maybe a month or so.
Wow. And then the way he passed, you were telling me the way he passed, it happened when you were out of town or you were on your way back into town. And that was particularly tough.
Yeah, yes, it was extremely tough. He had to convince me to go to my daughter's graduation, the oldest, Destiny, and I was so afraid to go. I noticed how he was deteriorating, and he said, "You need to go to the graduation." And I just cried, and I cried and cried and I cried. But I planned as well. I put cameras in the house. I had people watching him, and I said, "I'll be back." And during Mother's Day weekend, we went to my daughter's graduation. She was graduating from college. We were really excited. I prepared my home to ensure I can see him, and I couldn't find him. I couldn't find him on the cameras. So I called a friend to come to my home to see where he is. He only had a limited space because someone was coming in and out. His sister, who was also diagnosed with cancer, she was actually his caregiver while I was gone, as well as a good friend of mine. And so they were watching him 24 hours. And she stepped out. We couldn't find him on the camera. And so we knew at that point something was wrong. And I'm screaming through the cameras. And he said that, he had fallen. And my friend was there to pick him up within like 5 minutes. Took him to the hospital. He told me nothing was wrong, babe. And that's the selfless part of him. He said, nothing's wrong. I'll be fine. Have a good time. I'll see you when you get back tomorrow. And he passed away. So when I arrived at the hospital, I thought he was living, but he was gone. And I believe I was in shock.
You had a difficult time after that as well. Um, I'm just imagining the shock of thinking one thing. You're going to see your husband. He's in the hospital. We'll get through this. He'll come home. But it was a coming home of a different sort, one that you didn't expect. And so, what was life like for you after that? Like having to deal with that grief and that switch and that change of events that happened so quickly.
It was very challenging. I was on Feud for 3 years, from him being diagnosed to him passing away. And so I never had the opportunity to sit still in my space and understand what I was going through and not understanding how my body was shifting the experience, how my body and my nervous system was all over the place. And so after he passed away, my body just said, hey, I am tired, basically. And I went through the service. I, did all the logistical things that was necessary for, the proper burial. What I didn't know is that my body was trying to protect me and said, Katrina, wait, you're not doing anything anymore. You are about to sit down and figure this out. And one day I was walking, my body just fell. Maybe 6 weeks after he passed away, I fell. And next thing I know, I couldn't walk. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't do anything on my own. And that was the scariest part. I just buried my husband, and now I can't do anything for myself, and no one knows what's going on.
Wow. So you never got a diagnosis for what happened, not an official one?
No. So what happened is in the hospital, when I told them that my husband passed away, well, someone had to speak on my behalf, of course. They said it's just grief. It's just grief. It's just grief. And so I stayed in one hospital for a week or so. They ran all the tests, went back to another hospital. Someone took me. I think I've been to like 5 or 6 different hospitals trying to figure out why I can't, stand on my own or why I can't sit up on my own, why I can't do anything. And everyone said, it is grief. And I had tremors and I had sharp pains in my body. My eyes were shifting like this, and I was just moving like this constantly. And no one could explain to me what was going on. The diagnosis was grief.
Wow. Grief so profound. Like it's in your cells, in the cells of your body. Wow. So you're talking to me
Hmm.
on the cruise that we were on about a month or so ago.
Okay.
You look like you're thriving. You look like you're fine. So, how did you get from the point where you couldn't walk or talk or communicate for yourself to where you are now? Because you look good.
Ah, grace of God. It's
Hallelujah.
totally the grace of God that I'm standing, that the broken heart didn't kill me.
Mm,
And I had a lot of support from my daughter. She had to stop her life in Alabama to come here, to come back to where we live to take care of her little sister. And my family just gave me a lot of grace, a lot of nurturing. I had to do physical therapy. I had to really understand what was going on. I did a lot of wellness therapy. I had to really, focus on myself. And I can't tell you the day when I was able to sit up on my own. I can't tell you that. I'm not able to tell you when I was able to pick up the phone. I don't know those days. But what I do know is I wanted to live because there was a time in my life where I felt I was in a dark space because my body just, I felt my body was giving up on me. It was giving up. And so my mind, the mind and the body is connected. And there was a time when I said, do I really want to be here? Because when you look in the mirror and your whole body's shifting like crazy and you're not in control of it and no one can tell you anything, what can you do? Because you're left to try to figure the shit out by yourself.
And
And
we
it's,
love answers. Human beings need and love answers.
yes.
And that's
And
what not where you were getting.
I wasn't getting anything. I was kept going to the hospitals. I kept going. I'm crying. I'm begging for help. I'm screaming for help, and no one could help me. I found, time is healing as well. I had to go away and really deal with some treatment things and just try to figure out what the heck is going on with me. Through the grace of God, you know, I found a functional medicine doctor. And he sat down with me and he told me how the body responds, how your central nervous system responds. And once I start understanding it, I go, okay, I'm experiencing these thoughts. I'm experiencing this feeling because there was medication that caused me to be suicidal. And that triggered another component where they were giving me drugs and it started triggering a lot of stuff. And so once I learned how not to say it's me, remember the Chris, I'm not the diagnosis, right? So I learned that I'm not the grief, right? I'm not what the medication caused. I'm not my tremors. I'm not X, Y, and Z. I am experiencing it. And once I started acknowledging the experience and putting the check mark on it, I'm experiencing this right now. It will go away. I'm experiencing this right now and have full acceptance of who I am. That's when my growth spurt said, okay, let's deal with this grief. Let's deal with it. And I'm still healing through it. It's not over. I'm still healing through it. I recognize I'm still experiencing it. But my mental capacity is like, yes, I'm thriving. Yes, I'm living. Yes, we're winning. Yes, we're going to get out to everyone that supports someone that's a caregiver or someone that is a caregiver. Our goal is to make you seen, to ensure that you're heard, to ensure that you know that your story matters. And that's when I said we need to rebirth InspyreOne. And we started it when Chris was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. We wanted his
Okay.
story to be heard.
Hmm.
That's when we started it. And so we would
Oh,
wear
okay.
shirts. InspyreOne, your story matters. But what's your story? He told his story. And that was a release for him. And now that I experienced it, we said we cannot allow not one person not to be heard, seen, or felt. And that's our mission to ensure everyone knows that they have a story and we need to keep it going because it's generational. We want people to know down the line that you're not the only one because I felt I was the only one.
Right. As his caregiver that you.
I felt I was, yes, it was COVID. I felt like I was the only one that was going through it. And then my kids, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. And I didn't know how to seek for help. And that's the challenge that a lot of people have. But today I can tell you, we're not going to allow one person to be unseen because we wear our shirts and we tell people, what's your story? We want people to know. And so we focus on the stories, mental wellness, respite mental wellness. And it's about getting that story out there. People need to know that you're not alone.
And it very much feels that way. I know I like when you said that you are not the grief because when you're going through it, it feels so attached to you. It feels like it's coursing through your veins. But I like that perspective because when they say this too shall pass, well, the grief in some form will always be with you, but that doesn't mean it is you. And I've never really thought about it like that before. It's not me. It's
It's
just part
not
of the
you.
journey.
And it's just about learning how to ground yourself. And so throughout this entire process, I've participated in, I do constant meditation. I do heart math, which is a form of meditation. I do neurofeedback. I do so many mental wellness holistic type of therapies that I refuse to allow my body to tell me how it's going to respond, right? So I'm retraining my body, my central nervous system, and how it's responding to events because I'm constantly educating myself. I'm constantly practicing methodologies to ensure that when I do experience something, or when I have a thought, or when I'm feeling a certain way, I have to feel it, which is challenging unless you learn how to sit still, feel it, absorb it, acknowledge it, go through it, then ground yourself with something that's exciting or something that you love, because that's the experience that you want to feel. When you're going through this grief or you're going through a challenge, your grounding is going to overcome you and manifest like, oh, okay, I felt that, but this is where I am now in this moment and show up present.
So you're not avoiding it. So if anyone thinks that this is not avoidance, this is facing it head on, and but also understanding that it's something that you navigate, um, but happiness is there and you can choose that. Is that a correct interpretation?
Absolutely. 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 And you just have to invest in you and figure out what works best for you. But nature works for me.
And I'm hearing that you are sharing that. And part of InspyreOne is to share that with others, those opportunities with others who are caregivers, who might need a break, who might need a little bit of respite from the day to day. Tell us about that.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about Inspire One, what we're doing. Some of the events we had was called a Sister Circle, where a whole bunch of women, I think about 670 of us, we got together and it was specifically just to share your story. We had an amazing dinner set up for them and people shared and spoke, and it was such a release. It wasn't, the intention was just for you to get up and share what you're going through. And we're building community. And community is important. So when we leave those events, you're taking community with you. So when you're having challenges, you can call someone. Oftentimes, when your family and your close friends are in it with you, they can't see it. And so when you call your community, they can embrace you until your family's ready to accept it. A couple of weeks ago, we went to a senior citizen facility and we brought in barbecue, and we just wanted the nurses and the staff to know, hey, we really appreciate you. You're here, taking care of our loved ones. And this isn't easy. So we're barbecuing for you. We're showing up because we want you to know that we love you, we care for you, and we honor you. We thank you for taking care of our loved ones, and it's a selfless act of love. And so we do little things around our community just to show up for someone and say, hey, we're here for you. We have sound baths and we do a lot of different events just just so people can be seen and can be heard. Um, and that's what brings me joy.
Wow, wow. I love how you say we are building community. Because I was thinking the other day, like supporting anyone in the community. In this particular instance, supporting caregivers is part of the community ecosystem,
Absolutely.
and it's how we all like. Why would you not want to appreciate the people who help make your life better? And I don't know. Personally, I think that. that's a little bit lacking today. We can use a lot more of that. Just appreciation and kindness and empathy to experiences, whether we can relate to them or not. But that community ecosystem, how can people find out more about Inspire One or donate or get a starfish t-shirt?
Okay, let me just share about the starfish really quick, but let me clarify the wording for caregiver underneath our terms. So yes, we have the traditional caregiver that's taking care of someone that potentially may be hospice or potentially is going through a long-term illness. That's not our definition. Our definition of a caregiver is someone that's taking care of someone for a period of time, right? So if you break your leg, and you need your friend to sacrifice her time for a week, 2, 3 weeks on earth, and time is limited, right? So I'm sacrificing time to take care of you, and I'm filling your cup. Who's going to fill my cup? So we're there for supportive services for them as well. And so as long as you're giving to someone, we recognize you and we say you matter because every day people are sacrificing their time and we don't know when our time is over. But if we continue to give, whether it's, giving your friends physical help, mental help, spiritual help, we need to refresh ourselves. And so we show up for those people too, through sound baths, through other events. And we want them to get together. So it's not about the traditional caregiver. It's about someone that's giving their all because it takes away from you, right? And so we're showing up for everyone that's in that space, even if it's just for a short period of time.
For the
Uh,
cup fillers of others, so they
absolutely.
can have something to, because if your cup is empty, you're not going to be able to fill anyone else's cup.
Absolutely. And so it leads into our starfish component where we call it, Starfish Nation, because the starfish, when it breaks the fin, for the most part, it now has two, right? And so that's how we define InspyreOne as a starfish, because as I help you, I'm giving you everything I got. But guess what? When you're well, what are you going to do? You're going to go help somebody else. So my giving you part of my cup is that fin that's growing into another starfish. And that's how we come up with Inspire One. Your story matters because we are going to continue dividing, and dividing, and more starfishes are going to pop up and more people will be served. And we're just really excited about this movement.
Awesome. That is awesome. So how do people reach you?
Okay. So they can find us on Inspire One, InspyreOne.org, InspyreOne.org. And if they know a caregiver or someone they feel that needs support, they can put their information into our database and then we'll reach out to them. And just try to they'll do a survey and we'll have them in our database. So when we have an event or if they have any significant need and we can support them through our foundation, we'll definitely reach out to them within 7 days. In addition to that, we now have a campaign that's going on where people can give a t-shirt and a rose, a preserved rose, to someone that they love. They can put a smile on someone's face. They can buy one for themselves and they can buy one for someone else. And it says your story matters because we want people to know that they matter.
And I forgot to ask, so you're based in California. When people come to you, do you offer help across the nation, or are you still primarily based in California as far
So,
as the people that you serve?
okay, so we are based in California, but if there's someone that's advantageous and wants to say, hey, you know what? I know a group of people that in this that fits your criteria, and I want to have a micro luncheon, or we want to do a sound bath, or we want to do a community event. If the funds are available and that person wants to take the leadership, then we're more than open to say yes. And we've done it in a different place as well, where we will sponsor an event where there's people that need support like a sound bath or whatever the event is, and we can support them as well. So there's different ways because support shows up no matter where you are. It's just about finding the resources.
Awesome. Is there anything that you would like to add that I did not ask you, either about InspyreOne, about your journey, about grief, about resilience, anything?
I will say trust the process. Trust the process. Acknowledge what you are. Continue to seek out and advocate. For me, I couldn't advocate for myself when I was sick because I couldn't even pick up a phone. I couldn't do anything for myself for a period of time. Find someone to advocate for you and continue to advocate for you until you're satisfied. I'm still advocating for me and my healing journey. Although I have InspyreOne Foundation, there's some things I'm advocating for so I can be heard, so I can be seen. And I think that's the most important part. Be okay with having someone advocate for you.
And then we're going to end with the question that you answering this question, and then you coming up with your own question. So, the question that Kim asked for the next guest, which is you.
If you knew that you're going to die in 10 years,
Mhm.
so you only have 10 years to put your fingerprint on this earth, if you had no obstacles, what would you do to put your fingerprint on this world and why?
If I had no obstacles to put my fingerprint on this world and why, I would educate people about grief. And the reason why is grief is taboo. We don't talk about it. We don't have these conversations. And so someone like me that really didn't understand the grief and the component, it would have been easier if I understood the toll that grief can have on your body. Let's make grief a conversation. Maybe change the word. Let's not have it a negative tone. Just make it a normal conversation. Say potentially this can happen to your central nervous system. So let's talk about grief and how to handle it.
I agree. Now, what would you want to ask the next guest? It can be anything.
Okay. So the next guest, I would like to ask, how do you show up for yourself every day?
Wow. Okay. Wow. One sentence, but there's so, ooh, that's profound.
That's
That is profound. One good thing I like is when people ask these questions, I ask myself those questions as well. Of course, I keep my answers to myself, but I ask the questions, myself. And that's, yeah. Well, how do you show up for yourself every day? Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you being open to share your happy times as well as your struggles. Just side note, everyone, Katrina and I go way back, like way back, that kind of way back, where I don't remember when do we meet? Elementary school sometime.
yes, elementary school sometimes.
Yeah, and so we've known each other since then. But just because you go to school with a person every day, just because you know of them, and doesn't mean you know all the intricacies of their life and the things that they've been through. And I really appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing what you've been through.
It's such an honor, Liz, to know you on a totally different level. I appreciate you, and I'm thankful that we share something in common as well. So as we go through this journey together, we'll continue to bless others. We'll continue to help people heal, and you don't know the impact that you're having on other people as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you as well.